The inquiry into who leaked National leader Simon Bridges' expenses has been canned after the person responsible confessed in an anonymous text. RNZ revealed this morning a person claiming to be a National MP had sent a text message to Simon Bridges and to Speaker Trevor Mallard pleading for the investigation to be called off for the sake of their mental health. Mr Bridges wants it to forge ahead, but Trevor Mallard, the Speaker, has pulled the pin and the police are now involved. Here's our political reporter, Craig McCulloch.
Simon Bridges wouldn't talk to RNZ last night. This morning, an emergency press conference.
This morning you've seen on Radio New Zealand a story about the leak of my expenses and also a text message.
A text message with far-reaching consequences. Mr Bridges confirming he'd received a text from an unknown number on Thursday last week. Within it, a confession and a plea. The author claimed to be a National MP responsible for leaking Mr Bridges' expenses. They mentioned details from caucus meetings to prove their claim, and they asked that the inquiry be called off.
It was, I suppose, ultimately an incredibly dark, concerning text message.
The texter warned they had a prolonged, serious mental illness and worried being exposed could put their life at risk. Mr Bridges went to the police. The police tracked the leaker down. They won't say who it is, but they do say the person has the help they need, that there were well-being issues, but they're not in immediate danger.
And at no time did police tell me that the investigation should not proceed.
But it isn't proceeding. The Speaker, Trevor Mallard, issuing a sudden statement this afternoon. The inquiry is off. He says the leaker is clearly disturbed and his priority is getting them appropriate support. The text confirms the leak is most likely from within the National Party, he says, and as such is a party matter. The Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern in line with the Speaker.
If indeed this is an issue that's come out of the caucus, and if there are indeed mental health issues, it would strike me that needs to be dealt with really sensitively, and perhaps, if that is the case, best dealt with internally rather than externally.
Simon Bridges, though, isn't happy. He wants to forge ahead with the inquiry. He says the integrity of Parliament is at stake.
I'm not a cold-hearted person. I have real concern for this person's well-being. I've shown that in my actions. But ultimately, we don't know what we're dealing with here, whether it is, frankly, a more cynical manipulation of the system.
And he's pushing back against the claims the leak definitely came from within.
It could well have been someone who wasn't a Member of Parliament or even in the National Party system, if you like. I simply cannot safely say.
So what happens next? Nationals promised not to let it go. It says it needs to know who's behind the leak and will endeavour to find out. The senior MP, Jerry Brownlee, furious with the Speaker.
That's Mr Mallard turning his finger on the opposition, the 56 MPs, almost half the Parliament who make up the National Party, and saying, you are guilty. It is appalling behaviour from him.
National could yet launch a party inquiry, the Speaker says. If so, Parliamentary Service would cooperate. But there are bigger questions for Mr Bridges' leadership. 2 damaging leaks, the first to Newshub, the second to RNZ, both which could have come from within his caucus. That's only going to fuel paranoia, and a leader who can't trust his own colleagues will find it difficult to lead at all. Atu iti whare parimata mō te hōtaka o te ahiahi, ko Craig McCulloch.